If traveling has been on your mind, but the major limitation you've had to traveling is the cost of flight tickets, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the top 5 tips I've come across on how to get cheap flight tickets to travel to anywhere in the world so we know what works and what doesn't work. Let's get into it. One recurring tip I've seen is to use price comparison sites like Skyscanner, Kayak, Expedia, Google Flights. There are a couple of others, but for this video, we're just going to focus on these 4. Let's assume we're traveling from London to South Africa and anywhere in South Africa. And we're also just going to do a one-way ticket, but actually a return ticket is usually better. It saves you some money if you book a return ticket, but let's say we're just booking a one-way ticket. Another tip I've seen is to be flexible with dates. So being flexible with dates means that you could just decide to travel at the cheapest month in the year. One good thing about sites like this comparison sites I just mentioned is they give you an overview, or they let you know what the cheapest month to travel would be at a glance. So for example, we can see that April is the cheapest month to travel to South Africa. And I think it's important that I mention here that the prices here do not mean that all the flights go for this amount. It just means that this is the cheapest amount. This is the least expensive amount you'll be able to get a flight for this month. But the con with being flexible with dates is that you may not always have the opportunity to be flexible. So if you are traveling for your birthday or for something that is time specific or date specific, you have to choose a specific date. So if you wanted to travel for your birthday and you're not born in the month of April, you can't then decide to travel in April. It wouldn't be a birthday trip anymore. So let's pick a specific date. And now don't ask me why I'm picking February 14th. Let's just focus on this video. And we're traveling economy, so we're not changing anything here. So let's search. Now, at a glance, we can see the cheapest place. I think this is ranked according to price. So the cheapest airport to use would be Johannesburg Airport. Yeah, this also leads me to another tip I've seen, which is also be flexible with airports. Sometimes, it's not even sometimes, you can see it here. There are some airports that are cheaper to fly from or to fly to. But the con to this as well, I think as I'm doing this video, I'm also going to be sharing the cons here. The con to this as well is that if your destination or if a city is far away from the airport you're choosing just because of cost, eventually you will spend more money. So let me just assume that Durban is quite a distance from Joburg, yeah? If I then decide, if I'm actually going to Durban for my tour activities or whatever it is I'm traveling to SA for, and because I want to save like 80 something or 70 something pounds, I decide to arrive at Johannesburg. I'm going to spend more transporting myself from Joburg to Durban. So it's going to be penny wise, pound foolish. But if I'm being flexible and if I'm just focusing on price, if price is my major drive, I could actually decide to use Joburg and explore activities in Joburg. So let me assume again that everything I'm doing for my trip is driven by price, and I choose Joburg as my destination, as the airport I'm traveling to. Skyscanner is going to show me different prices, and it usually presents the prices in terms of cheapest, best, and fastest. We can see the cheapest is £408. And it's Ryanair that takes us there. Now let's compare this £408 that we've gotten from Skyscanner with what Kayak gives us for the same dates and with what Expedia gives us for the same dates. Now Kayak gives us, this is Kayak by the way, this is Kayak's website, because the cheapest is £439, but Skyscanner was £408 and Expedia is £627. Now, one thing to note is that this flight comparison sites scan different websites for their prices, but they don't all scan the same sites. So for example, the cheapest for on Expedia is Qatar Airways, and that's what gives us £627. But the cheapest on Skyscanner was Ryanair, and this is not even a direct flight. This is 3 stops. So you have Ryanair, you have this flight, Aer Lingus, you have Egypt Air. For Kayak, it was British Airways and Egypt Air. So we can see that these sites are scanning different websites. It doesn't mean that British Airways won't be on Skyscanner as well, but Skyscanner has gone and searched for the cheapest possible flight. So it's searching more websites than these other websites. That's just what I'm trying to say here in summary. But before you rush and book Skyscanner because it's the cheapest, other things you want to consider are how long the flight is going to be. So for example, Skyscanner is 47 hours, 20 minutes. That's a very long flight. That's almost 2 days trip here. And Skyscanner was 3 stops. For Kayak, it's 2 stops and 41 hours, 30 minutes. That is also a very long flight. For Qatar, it's 15 hours, 55 minutes. So let's just say 16 hours and it's 1 stop. So this is a far more comfortable trip, even though it's more expensive compared to the 3 other sites we just checked. Second thing you need to also consider before you rush and book your flight are your allowances. So we can see that Qatar gives us a luggage allowance. Yeah, you have a hand baggage included. You have 2 checked bags at this price. But let's see if these other flights give the same. This one doesn't give. This one only gives you a baggage allowance, a hand allowance rather, but it doesn't give you checked bag. If you wanted a checked bag, you have to pay for it. So except you're traveling light, you're not traveling with anything, then you could go for this. But if you're traveling with a bag, then ticket changes are also not included. The only thing included is a cabin bag. So except if you're traveling with things, you definitely need to have your luggage allowance. So before you book this trip or before you book any trip, especially when you're going through flight price comparison sites, you want to check the allowances you have, else you'd have to pay for your luggage, and then you may still eventually end up spending more than you would have spent anyways. The way I'd recommend using price comparison sites is to just use it to find the airline that has the best rates or the cheapest rates. And once you find that airline, go to the booking site of that airline directly. As I said earlier, flight comparison sites scan websites. So what that means is they scan both the websites of the airlines and websites of booking sites. It doesn't scan only websites of airlines. So I'll give you an example. Let's say I wanted to book this flight that is £412. Kiwi is the booking site that's Skyscanner got this really cheap rate from. And if you ask me, but I'll also leave this judgment to you, this is not such a great deal because you don't get a cabin allowance and you don't get a luggage allowance, meaning that if you are traveling with something, you definitely have to pay more for it. Let's go back to search results. Another thing you could use this site is to get best rates. Now we've seen that the cheapest rate is not a great deal. It could be worth considering what the best rate is. Best rate is $5.96, 15 hours, and your flight is for 16 hours approximately, which is far better than 30 minutes. That's a 30 minutes, saves you 30 hours from what the cheapest rate was given to you. Best rate is Qatar Airways, which was what Expedia showed us before. So meaning that we could get our luggage allowance and all those things that we saw on the Expedia site. And now we can see that there are different airlines that are offering, different websites rather, that are showing these rates. But again, as I recommended before, don't book from these booking sites. Go to the airline directly and book. We can say that it's Qatar that is offering this. You can go to Qatar Airways, the website. I don't know why it's not showing as an option here. Okay, yeah, it's showing as an option here. And we can see that with these rates, well, it's now 5, 6, 17. Okay, I think this is even the best way to also explain this, because these other sites have removed, some of them have removed luggage allowance and all that. So for example, Budget Air has shown you that you won't get these two things. So eventually you are even still going to pay for it. You will still pay 600 and something pounds. which Qatar just shows you directly here. So the best place is to book from Qatar, not just because of your luggage, but because if there are any challenges, you'll be able to get the help of the customer support person from the airline. But if you have any challenges and you booked from somewhere else, you have to go and get your support from there. So this is just the best thing to do. Another tip I've seen is to use student discount codes. Of course, this only works if you're a student, whether you're doing your undergraduate studies, your master's, or your PhD. I used student discount codes a lot when I was a student. It really helped me save some money. This is Student Beans. There are different sites that show you student discount codes. But even if you do not know a site that you could get a student discount code from, you could check the airline directly, the airline's website directly when booking your tickets if they could give student discount codes. But for the purpose of this video, let's use Student Beans. If you just want to search the airlines to know which one gives, or to know which one gives the best student discounts, you could come here and search airlines. Now we can see Spirit Line gives like 20%. We can see an airline that gives up to $500 off, 35% off, and the rest. Now, of course, again, it's not always about the numbers. Even though we're looking for the cheapest rate here, you should also be considering the quality of the service the airlines offer when booking your tickets. So I would say student discount code works 100%. The only limitation again to this is it only works for students. It doesn't work for everybody. Back to using price comparison sites to check for tickets. This is Google Travel. One way a lot of people will talk about using Google Travel as a resource is to be flexible both with destinations and with dates. So let's take the advice, and since we don't know where we're traveling, so we've not made a decision, anywhere in the world works. And we're just going to change the dates as well here, because again, we're being flexible with dates. So let's choose flexible dates for the next 6 months. What Google Travel does is that it's going to show you different destinations and the cheapest prices for the next 6 months. Con to this is that this again does not apply to everyone, because not everybody has that privilege of just throwing a dart on the map, and wherever the pin points out, they just carry their bag and travel. Some people will need to get their visas, and you may not know how long your visa application may take. But let's just say you don't have that limitation. Yeah, let's say you're in London, you want to travel to Singapore, and you don't have to worry about visa. So let's choose Singapore as our destination. Now Google Maps will show you the cheapest day to travel in the next 6 months, and it happens to be 29th of April. These are the airlines that are offering that ticket. The airline offering it for 229 is EasyJet and Scoot. So it's a one-stop, and it's one way, which looks like a good deal to me. If you ask me, it's 28 hours. But if you threw in a bit more money, you could go for 13 hours 5 minutes, Singapore Airlines. Now I would say, instead of just picking this and flying with it, let's compare again. So let's go back to Skyscanner and see if we can get an even better deal for the same trip. Skyscanner, we can see the rate is the cheapest is £210, and the cheapest time to travel that period to it is still 29th of April. So I'll say Google Travel really showed us the best or the cheapest day to travel. But just like I shared earlier, it's always good to check what the deal is. As much as this is cheaper, at a glance, it may not be cheaper. So if you still need to pay for your luggage and all that, it may just be better to go for the best and save the money, because we don't want to be penny wise pound foolish here. We don't want to think that we're saving money on a ticket when we're actually spending more. So it's always great to check what the deal is. Now the deal is Singapore Airlines, and it just makes sense for it to be Singapore Airlines anyways, because we're traveling to Singapore. So there shouldn't be another airline that would offer you better service than the national airline or the national carrier for you. Another tip I would say is worth trying is investing in an airline membership. An airline membership is like a loyalty program. Yeah, I don't know if you ever use cards. Like, for example, I have a Boots card. I also have a card with a perfume shop. And as I buy more of their products, I get points. And eventually, when the points accumulate up to a certain number, I can get my next item at a discounted rate. So that's how airline membership works as well. As you keep booking trips, you get miles or points depending on how they want to. I think they call it avios. Avios. I don't know if all the airlines use the same word, but as those points accumulate, it gets you closer to being able to book your next flight at a discounted rate. So I understand that it's not something you can do immediately. It's not a reward you can benefit from immediately, but it's definitely worth investing in it. If you do not want to have an airline membership, or if you do not have one yet, booking your flights using your credit card is also good because you also get points on your credit card, and you can use those points to either book your next flight or to book a hotel. So far, we've tried about 5 or 6 different tips, and one myth this video, trying out these tricks or these tips, has dispelled for me is that booking your tickets months ahead is always going to give you the best rates. This doesn't always work because we saw from London to South Africa, the best month to travel would have been in April. So even if I want to travel in June, July, I wouldn't have gotten a better deal than I would have gotten in April. With this, we've come to the end of this video. Let me know if you learned anything new. If there are any tricks you use to book flight tickets at a cheap rate, please blog me. Just share it in the comment section below. And just before you leave, one more thing. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. Thank you.